Hey, this is Rezo Rizardo, aka Base Rez. We're going to take a look at a PC game. It was on the PS2 as well. And that is called Flatout. This game, in my opinion, is probably one of the best racing games ever made. It features basically enduro type racing, which is generally demolition derby cars racing around. And demolition derbies are kind of the only American style thing that's fairly popular over here, especially in like rural areas. Here in Minnesota, we kind of take demolition derbies a little bit too seriously, and we kind of don't. I don't know. I participate in them. I love them, and I like to see that there's a game that actually represents it. No other game has really represented it as well, besides Test Drive Even Destruction, which I think is probably one of the best ones that I've seen. I haven't really gone around to any more simulation type games of the genre, which I really doubt there are any. If there are, let me know, because I'd like to check them out. But anyway, the cars in this game look absolutely fucking beautiful. I mean, these things look like beat up old cars, and that is the type of thing that I like. There's no supercars, there's no sort of like shiny things around here. These things are all beat up, built from the ground up race cars. Later on, in the higher levels, like they do get more exotic. Like it looks, they all kind of had a weird, like kind of European round feel to them. They're not as boxy as I'd like them to be, and they do fix that in Flatout 2. But I just think that this game shines because of the driving system. The physics in the game and the handling of the cars is really hard to get used to, but that's because you're driving on dirt, you're driving on snow, you're driving on concrete to sand and all that type of stuff. And these cars are designed to race, and they're designed to take impacts and punishment like that. So once you get a hold of the handling, there are two types of modes. There's a standard, which is pretty simple if you got a gamepad or controller, and then there's professional, which I only found really good luck with using a steering wheel, and not everyone has a steering wheel or a good steering wheel to play the game, so I'll just recommend you going on standard regular handling, unless you want to have a pain in the ass experience trying to keep the car on the track. Professional handling is actually fairly fun. This is a destruction racing game, so you do get boost points where running over like fences and cones, crashing into all the other enemy racers. But I find it way more enjoyable to race clean, to try to get the best lap times, because that's really where it goes about. Rubber band doesn't really seem to be in effect here, and that's a good thing. Mostly because a lot of racing games, they try to make it high paced and impactful and like really like in your face, because as soon as you're ahead of the pack, they all get like a speed boost and they come up to you. In this game, I've realized that like if I know what I'm doing and I'm racing hard and I'm making all the right moves, I know the track, I can lap these guys, like no problem. I mean, obviously the AI isn't the smartest, but it seems like they kind of have their own kind of brains, as they all have different names, and you're always going against the same guy near the end, Frank Benton, and he's almost always the guy that you got to deal with in like half of these races, because he's just probably one of the best drivers of the course. So I don't know how that really works, or if the AI works. Online community, I assume back when the game was released, was really good, and I would love to try it out. But it seems like you got to wait to a certain amount of time where somebody's got it set up. This game is just fun as a single player experience. They all handle differently. The snow trackers are my favorite because I'm from Minnesota, so driving on the ice is kind of something that we get used to over here. And yeah, the graphics of the time were fucking amazing. I mean, this game looks beautiful. The car damage modeling is just right on par. Like, the fact that when your hood comes up and it crashes back down and it leaves a noticeable dent on to your roof, and like if you get hit in the side, you get bent into the side, and like the quarter panels, they get ripped off. Like at the rear end, like you can just basically see your rear tires and that's it. Your exhaust pipe fall off. Everything is just intense. My only problem with this is that your car is basically invincible. I think the other cars can be taken out and trashed and not be operable, but your car can take as much beating as you want. The fact that the races only last about 4 minutes, like that really doesn't matter. If you're racing properly, you're not going to notice it. Like if the car does take some damage, like to the front suspension, like takes a real hard hit, it's going to start pulling to one side or the other. It's going to be more bouncy. The handling's going to be harder to do, and that's something that they took out of Flatout 2, which I think kind of bugged me. I'm going to cover Flatout 2 later, but other than that, this game is almost perfect. The handling, the cars, the tracks, everything just seems spot on. It's an older game, so there's not much of like big destruction, explosions, and all that type of stuff. It just kind of goes on like, hey, this is a enduro racing game, and there's not many enduro racing games out there. And if you really like destruction derbies or demolition derbies, however you say it, you should really check this out. It does have a derby mode, but to me it lacks a bit. It doesn't really favor any of the actual tactics of a derby, but it's fun to do and run around and crash into people. That's like the only time where Flatout 2 beats it, is because Flatout 2 is based on points. Well, Flatout is whoever can survive, so sandbagging and running around in a circle and waiting for everyone else to kill each other usually is a good tactic in this game, and I just find that outright dirty and stupid. I'd rather be the one causing damage and getting my points by getting hits in. And hitting them from the rear doesn't really do anything. When in real life, you want to hit cars with your rear end. You don't want to hit them with your front end where your radiator is going to get smashed up, because there's nothing in the rear that's going to get damaged. But I'm not going to go on about that. This game is great. I recommend you try it out. If you can find it on sale, like usually you can get it on Steam for like $1.70 when it's on sale. If not, I think it's only like $4 or $5. And if you haven't played it, try it out. On the PC, it's absolutely stunning. The PS2 version was the first one I played. That was good too, but man, on the PC, max settings, everything going, 60 frames per second, this thing rocks. Alright, this is Rezo Wizardo, and I'm gonna give this game like a solid 8 out of 10. I really recommend it, especially for the racing enthusiasts and demolition derby enduro enthusiasts of that too. Well, that's all for today. Have a good night, people.